What's up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I'm coming to you guys with part 2 of the Harpie combinations video. So, in part 1, we pretty much went through the beginning of the game to where we are with Lord of Tachyon Galaxy, and I replaced, of course, the lineup of Harpie monsters because now we're going into the tracks of where we are now. With Harpie Chandler, Queen, Dancer, Harpist, Harpie Lady, Warner Cyber, Harpie's Pet, Hysteric Sign, and of course, when we get the newer editions, we'll have Harpie Perfumer, Harpie Oracle, Harpie's Feather Roosting, Split Mirrors of Seduction, and of course, Elegant Harpie Lady. But for right now, we're just gonna go all the way. I'm going all the way up until. No, I can't even go past the Exceed format. Actually, the beginning of Link format, which we're pretty much in year 2 of Link. So, yeah, it's a lot. I'm not even gonna lie. It's a lot that has to really just be standard. You can see that even the stack of cards has now shortened. Um, so I guess just to break it off, just like I did the last one, where we are now, we're pretty much at Solid Harpie Lady by itself. Um, it's pretty much just the invocation of the lineup and Hysteric Sign. Now, what I'm going to showcase here is the growth of which a lot of the combination of cards has come since we received all of these Harpie cards. I'm talking from Harpie Lady, Harpie Dancer, Chandler, Harpist, and Queen, and Hysteric Sign, and Feather Storm, and Harpist, all in that lineup. And even till now, we're the announcement of our cards that are now being shown today. It might be a little, might not be a little laggy on that end, but I do apologize if it's laggy on any receiving end because in the process I'm uploading part 1. I need one more card so I can talk about the next combination of deck. And I think a lot of people are very familiar with this one. Because of this contiguous combination, a lot of cards got banned. A lot of cards got limited, and with the re-arrival of one monster coming back off the list, another monster had to see banned ASAP. And that is, if this combination didn't work out for you guys, this is the um, Bombardment Phoenix FTK OTK Harpie Dancer. Yeah, the Harpie Dancer FTK OTK. And what that pretty much lied in was the ban and limit of a whole bunch of cards. So pretty much what the idea was is you utilize the effect of Harpie Dancer in combination with Divine Wind of the Mist Valley. Now, for those who want to know exactly why a lot of the cards were limited before Harpie Dancer came out, was pretty much because of this deck. Ancient Fairy Dragon is currently banned in both the TCG and the OCG. Divine Wind of the Mist Valley, G-Nex Ally Birdman, and Elemental Hero Stratos are all at 1. And thankfully not hit by the ban list because of what Harpie Dancer told. So pretty much what the deck was you played Divine Wind of the Mist Valley, you activated Harpie Dancer to bounce herself back to the hand, and you summoned G-Nex Ally Blastfan. And what Blastfan did was he searched for a dark G-Nex monster, and added it to your deck, from your deck to your hand. And with that told, you activated Blastfan, you bounced back Birdman. And it was a combination in which you were summoning off until you got to the beautiful ancient fairy dragon, in which she would start popping cards, she'd special summon stuff, and then it'd just go from there. Until you had this monster, Bombardment Phoenix. And what Bombardment Phoenix did was pretty much every time it was summoned, you can inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent for each card on the field, and this card can attack the turn to activate its effect. Well, what you would do is you'd fuse it with machine monsters, or you'd fuse machine and pyro monsters to summon it. I am missing one monster from this, and unfortunately, I just now thought about it. I am missing the elemental hero that also was part of this deck, and that is Elemental Heroes Lady Heat and Elemental Hero Heat. Two big monsters that were actually part of this combination. And that was pretty much because they were searched out by shadows. Thanks to shadows being either special summoned by Divine Wood of the Mist Valley or being special summoned off the effects of the ancient fairy dragon. And it would pretty much line up to summon a whole bunch of these monsters. You go into Galaxy Tomahawk to make machine tokens. Then you'd fusion summon with the card Fusion Gate, the fill spell, that banish monsters that you controlled are in your hand to special summon a fusion monster from your extra deck, and it was treated as a fusion summon. And that way it allowed you to summon Bombardment Phoenix, and then you would constantly go off with that, summoning until you got into your last Bombardment Phoenix, and you're pretty much was doing a ton of damage to your opponent. Yeah, it was a pretty nasty combination, and that's ended up why that at the end result, that's why a lot of these cards were either limited or banned. The biggest ban happens to be Ancient Fairy Dragon, because even until today, there are a ton of field spells that Ancient Fairy Dragon, if summoned, can abuse. And not to mention her other ability, which is to such summon a level 4 or lower monster from your hand, but you can attack that turn. That's perfectly fine, because now you can still special summon and continue all the plays you were doing off of Ancient Fairy Dragon, or just trying to set up a board to where your opponent could not get around it. So, i.e. look at Spiral. So, that is one combination of a deck that I ran. The next combination is, well, Harpie and Heroes. Yes, Wind Monsters, the Elemental Heroes Shadows, and the Mask cards. Mask Change, Mask Fusion. Yeah, Mask Change the second. Just the whole hero variety all in one. The thing was, Shadows ended up getting banned before a lot of the Mask Hero stuff came out. Or no, I think a lot of it was out, but I think Mask Change 2 and them didn't come out to the structure deck. Divine Wind didn't come out to the structure deck. So, the whole purpose of it was use your Mask Change on your Harpie monsters. Then you would be able to summon stuff like Great Tornado and Divine Wind off of stuff like Miracle Fusion, just incorporating the concept. Even though you were banishing your Harpies, you still had some really big hitters on the board. And it was one of the decks that I wanted to build, but unfortunately we didn't have anyone except for Tornado. When Divine Wind came out, I was just using Mask Change at that point. And Divine Wind isn't a bad monster. It's just one of those monsters that had a lot to do with more combat than anything else. But it was a good Mask Change target, because Mask Change didn't banish your monster. It just put him to the graveyard. So it was one less thing I had to do with a hero in that sense. And the only other hero that's Wind in the main deck is Avion. So, yeah. Weren't too many people playing Avion at that point. So now let's move on to Lord of Tachyon Galaxy itself. And I think the biggest monster setup that a lot of people wouldn't be too surprised is, of course, the usage of the 4 big dragons. Blaster, Tidal, Redox, and Tempest. The Dragon Ruler of Waterfalls, the Dragon Ruler of Boulders, the Dragon Ruler of Inferno, and the Dragon Ruler of Storms. They're all level 7 dragon-type monsters. With a monster like Harpie Channeler, in her ability, you were going into one of the game's most expensive extra deck monsters. If it was not Big Eye, it was Mecha Fan Beast Draco Sack. The fact that Harpie Channeler changed the entire Harpie game in the entire setup of rank 7 was tremendous. You had a level 4 who became a level 7 simply by a dragon being on the field. Not only does this mean that she had potential for Exceed monsters, but you had all these dragon type tuners at your disposal. She became pretty much a giant setup for stuff like Star Eater, Stardust Dragon. Shoot, I'm just thinking on top of my head all the big dragons you can summon just off of 2 monsters, literally thanks to Harpie Channeler in her effect of being a level 7 when you control a dragon type monster. So you had all these little low level dragons, and then bam, you had Lightning, the elemental the dragon ruler of winds, or cyclones, and then you just popped into a tempest, and then bam, you had a Draco sack, you had a Big Eye, you had a Master of Blades. So you had rank sevens in the palm of your hand. This is last all the way until they got banned. I also want to talk about just Tempest on its own and what Tempest potentially did. Tempest, I didn't run Tempest in Harpies. I think a lot of us can agree that was kind of like that was one of the big bad decisions we did, and I'm glad a lot of us did take out Tempest because I love Tempest, but Tempest in terms of Harpie was not a thing a lot of Harpie players wanted to do because of the fact Tempest shut down Hysteric Party, and by shutting down Hysteric Party, I mean it banished your Harpies, and you needed your Harpies in the graveyard to summon itself, and the only other big thing you wouldn't summon is Harpie Chandler. But what other Harpies did you get off of Hysteric Sign if you weren't banishing? I mean, you could banish the tuners, but that's also saying anything there. Did you get Lightning in one of the tuners in the graveyard fast enough to not have to use up your Harpie ladies? I ended up losing the top 8 because of the fact that I had Tempest in Grave, I didn't have anything else to summon, and I was going up against a Blaster, and it didn't go well. And I didn't have anything to go into my Big Eye, and I didn't have my Chandlers because most of them were already banished. So that was a big X right there. Essentially, when the dragons got banned, Harpies went already into their rank 4 spam variants. And I think at that point, a lot of us ended up dropping Harpies Pet Dragon just because of the fact that there was no real engine to search for a dragon or to summon another dragon in its place. And at that time, it was just rank 4 Harpie Lady to the extreme. So that's Tempest. Let's drop to the next variation of monsters, and that's the Ancient Years. Now, it took till Reacting Dragon, and it took till set rotation to really get a use of these cards. I also want to talk about, I forgot about Gear Town. Oh, that was such a missed opportunity. I also want to talk about these cards. Magical Hats and cards like Lost Wind, Skill Prisoner, Breakthrough Skill. The whole thing about Gear Town itself is Gear Town allowed you to, when it's destroyed, you can search your deck and special summon a ancient gear monster, no matter what level it was, to your field. With Magical Hats, and its ability is that you would set Magical Hat with Hysteric Sign, and then you can set any other spell or trap. What a lot of people would do was set Gear Town in combination with Magical Hat, or you'd set one of these trap cards, because these trap cards in the graveyard work extremely well. But the other thing about these is that when they're on the field, you can pop them and then use their effects in the graveyard to either negate an opponent's effect, protect your monster's effects, or deal with a monster who was special summoned and deal with its effects. And it was tremendous. Now with the Ancient Gears in that combination, set a Magical Hat, set random spell, set Gear Town. Now why is set rotation here? Well, set rotation is here for various reasons. Put a Harpie's Hunting Ground in your slot, put Gear Town in your opponent's slot. The Gear Towns are going to go to your graveyard, and then bam, you can summon one of your Ancient Gears to the field. And with Gear Town, it is a shoe-in guarantee for a 300 attack monster. Either one that destroyed a spell and trap after the battle phase, after the battle was included, or had someone who was swinging in for pierce damage and didn't really care what happened. Actually, both of them swinged in for pierce damage, but it was just, oh no, if they're attributed by a Ancient Gear. Okay, but it didn't really matter. You had 300 monsters who couldn't be stopped by your opponent's card effects while they're swinging, and that was the big thing. Plus, they're named dragon, but they aren't dragons, so it didn't affect Harpie Chandler in any way, shape, or form, which was great because it allowed you to have these high beaters and then play all your links and exceed plays. And it was really thanks to Magical Hats. And I think the player who played Magical Hats, it did lead to a lot of crazy rulings and stuff. But nowadays, we have that fixed up where you can't use Magical Hats on a monster who's used from your extra deck. You only use them on monsters who are from the main, who are in the main monster zone. The whole sleeve situation, and yeah, it was just crazy. But Magical Hats is still a good card. It's just funny how one of Yugi's primary gimmicks was used in Mai's archetype, specifically in her archetype for usage. Um, all right, let's move on to the next set of things. That is the barrier statue of Stormwinds. Um, at the time between the rival Harpie Harpist and Link summoning, we have the barrier statue of Stormwinds. What Stormwinds does in overall is you cannot summon monsters who are not wind. It also led to a lot of players playing a lot of the quickly summon these cards to the field, i.e., Infernal Reckless Summon, um, Ties of the Brethren, and Swallow's Nest, all to help circumvent the usage of the barrier statue of the Stormwind. So while your Stormwind was locking both players out of summoning monsters who weren't wind, you had full access to a whole bunch of wind monsters from your extra deck. It's Phantasmal, Lightning Chidori, Castel, and in multiples too, because Harpies could do that with various ease. You also had introduction to the next archetype, which was the Kaiju. You could summon your Kaiju, play your Harpie Dancer to summon Harpie Harpist on a normal summon, bouncing cards back, utilizing the Kaiju to get over a monster, and then bam, your opponent lost one of their big monsters. You still have a Kaiju to utilize and have a way to get rid of it off the field next turn, and you can just swing in for damage. Plus, if you had the barrier statue, your opponent can't summon anything that isn't wind, unless they're running Yosenju, which I think at that point was probably the harder deck for Harpies to deal with, because Yosenju was pretty much a wind turbo itself. Instead of using a Winged Beast engine, it used a Beast Warrior engine. But overall, I mean, the Kaiju combination, let's talk about that. Harpies and Kaiju. Literally, if it wasn't for Ties of the Brethren allowing you to use Harpie Dancer and Harpie Harpist and their effects in combination with Divine Wind, I don't think much of the Kaiju stuff would have probably been in the main deck. It'd probably just be sided. And the Kaiju engine itself is really good because it's just these big, heavy monsters, and all you really do is just remove them. That's it. Then you clear your opponent's board of all these heavy monsters. I think that's why it's mostly turns to Kaiju Yosenju, because the Yosenjus could bounce back the Kaiju monsters, and then you could just put the Kaiju on top of something like a big threat, and you'd want out of the way. But I did both combinations, the Kaiju and the barrier statue. I had Ties of Brethren, Infernos, and Swallow's Nest, and just really utilizing the Winged Beast engine, the Wind engine, and just doing a lot of stuff. So that is Ties, that is Kaiju, that is the statue. Now let's move on to the next one, and that is Zodiac. Am I really going to do this? Yep. Alright, so I cannot express this sentence anymore than I've already have. And I've said this sentence in the past. Just because a deck is tier does not mean it works good with everything. I.e. Zodiac. The only exceptional thing that Zodiac had were its extra deck monsters. Zodiac Trident, Zodiac Broad Bull, Zodiac Tiger Mortar, and I forget the other one, the monkey. Because we didn't have the dog, we didn't have we did have it. No, it was Broad Bull. So, here's my whole thing with Zodiac. I didn't like Zodiac Harpie. I have a deck profile on what I ran. I had to cut literally half my engine to support a whole nother monster archetype that had little to no synergy with this deck except for everybody's a level 4. With that said, most of the engine that you would use with Zodiac could have been Zodiac on its own, because um, you had Viper, you had um, Rapier, you had what's the other one? The horse, Thoroughblade. So you really didn't need the Harpie engine at all unless you want to pop spells and traps. But even then, it's like I have to hope to draw into my Harpie Chandler, or I'm going to run into my Zodiac Rapier. And then I have to force myself to thin my deck in order to do something with it. And at that point, I might as well have just put 3 or 4 Zodiac extra deck monsters in my extra deck and just kept it pushing. And that's, I didn't even actually go look out for Zodiac deck till a lot of the stuff got banned um, right after. And then it was just at a point of, okay, well, I ain't running this. I don't have to run this. And I told a lot of my friends this, like, just because Zodiac is the tier deck doesn't mean that it's going to work in Harpie Lady the way you think it's going to work in Harpie Lady, because the way everyone else who plays Harpies, who's played Harpies and knows how Harpies generate, Zodiac is not a good engine. The next set of cards I'll talk about is a better engine for Harpies because of the fact of what they were capable of doing and what they were capable of showcasing. So now let's move on to the next and probably the last of the combination of decks that I played, and that was the True King True Dracos. Um, the True King True Draco pretty much utilized continuous spells and traps to help summon their level 5 and higher monsters. With Harpies in the engine, you had Hysteric Sign that could be blown up. You had Hysteric Party. If the Harpies were already gone, you could utilize that. Not to mention, you had all these giant monsters who were not dragon that you could easily abuse with um, their tribute summons. I think so more so the fact that we had the True Draco Phoenix, the True Draco Mage. We had Masterpiece, a great boss monster to the point where he got banned. And just an overall sense of great potential that this deck had. I did run a very fair version of True King, True Draco, True Draco, True King Harpie. I ended up calling it True Queen Harpie because it was mainly just you had one or two masterpieces. You had the Draco Mage, the Draco Phoenix, I think one of the Draco Fighters, a couple of spells and traps, and then you had the Harpie engine, which you cut to 2 Dancer, 2 Queen, 2 Hunting Ground, the set of Harpist, a set of Queen, a set of Featherstorm, a set of Hysteric Party, and Hysteric Sign. Pretty much everything else was up to you, and you pretty much filled in the blanks thanks to the Draco engine. Tributing off your continuous spells and traps, here comes Masterpiece to save the day. And a very big monster to actually get over, and had a lot of utility of his own effects to stop your opponent from hurting your side of the field. And yeah, it like even the only real way to get over it was Kaiju. And at that point, we sided in Kaiju to deal with a lot of the other Kaiju. So yeah, that this is pretty much the basis of that, and pretty much just the last of the deck combinations that I played. So as I wrap up part 2, I just want to say thank you to everyone for watching. I hope you guys enjoy it. I certainly did, and I hope the viewer with the comments, well, the viewer who actually suggested this, I hope he enjoyed it as well. Well, he or she enjoys it as well. And yeah, part 1 will be up very shortly, and I'm wrapping up this. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below. I'm HPJ. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.